You're sitting at your desk on a Tuesday afternoon, and your coworker mentions they just got a raise, $3,000 more a year. You congratulate them, maybe feel a tiny pang of jealousy, and then you go right back to what you were doing. You don't negotiate. You don't ask your boss about your own compensation. You don't even update your resume. You just accept it. Accept that other people get raises and you don't. Accept that you're probably being paid fairly. Accept that bringing it up would be awkward or pushy or risky. And here's the thing that's going to sting a little. That acceptance, that habit of not asking, just cost you way more than $3,000. My name is Minted Finance, and I spend way too much time thinking about the invisible money leaks that drain people's wealth without them even noticing. If you're someone who works hard, does everything right, but still feels like you're not getting ahead financially the way you should be, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, because what I'm about to show you is probably the single biggest gap between people who build wealth and people who stay stuck. So let's talk about the $0 habit. It doesn't cost you anything up front. You're not spending money on it. There's no subscription fee, no interest rate, no late payment penalty, but it's quietly draining thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars from your lifetime earnings. And the habit is this: not asking. Not asking for a raise, not asking for a better price, not asking for a discount, not asking vendors to match competitor rates, not asking your credit card company to lower your interest rate, not asking the hospital to review your medical bill, not asking if there's a better deal available, just accepting the first number you're given and moving on with your life. Here's the thing though, every time you don't ask, you're making a choice. You're choosing to leave money on the table. And I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, Nick, it's not that simple. Asking feels uncomfortable. What if they say no? What if it damages the relationship? What if I come across as cheap or difficult? And you're right, asking does feel uncomfortable. But here's what most people don't realize. That discomfort is costing you more money than almost any other financial mistake you could make. Let me show you the math, because once you see the numbers, you can't unsee them. Let's start with the obvious one, salary negotiation. According to data from various salary surveys, about 60% of people don't negotiate their salary when they get a job offer. They just accept whatever number is presented. Now, the average salary negotiation, when someone actually does it, results in about a 5% increase. Doesn't sound like much, right? Let's say you're offered a job at $60,000 a year. You don't negotiate because you're just happy to have the offer and you don't want to seem greedy. Your friend, same qualifications, same job, different company, negotiates and gets $63,000. That's $3,000 more in year one. But here's where it gets interesting. Raises are almost always calculated as a percentage of your current salary. So if you both get a 3% raise the next year, you're getting an $1,800 raise, while your friend is getting an $1,890 raise. The gap just grew. Over a 40-year career, assuming identical percentage raises, that one decision not to negotiate your starting salary will cost you somewhere between $205,000 and $500,000, depending on your field and raise schedule. Think about that. A 5-minute uncomfortable conversation that you avoided is worth $500,000. How many hours would you need to work to earn an extra $500,000? Probably tens of thousands of hours. But you could have had it by being uncomfortable for 5 minutes. Now look, I'm not just picking on salary negotiation because it's the easy example. This habit shows up everywhere. Let's talk about your cable bill, your phone bill, your insurance. Most people pay whatever they're charged. They get the bill, they pay it, they move on. But here's what companies know that you don't. Almost everything is negotiable. I called my internet provider last year because my bill had crept up to $89 a month. I spent 12 minutes on the phone asking if there were any promotions or ways to reduce my bill. The retention specialist, who exists specifically because people like me call, immediately offered me the same service for $59 a month, $30 less. I didn't threaten to cancel, I didn't have to argue, I just asked. 12 minutes saved me $360 a year. That's a $1,500 per hour return on my time. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but that's just a one-time thing. No, it's not, because in a year, my bill will creep back up and I'll call again. And I do this with every recurring bill I have. Car insurance, I shop around every year and then give my current provider a chance to match the best quote. Phone bill, same thing. Gym membership, streaming services, professional subscriptions. Asking the question, is there a better rate available, has probably saved me $3,000 to $4,000 a year, every year, for the rest of my life. But here's the psychological part that nobody talks about. We've been conditioned to believe that asking for things is rude, that the price is the price, that if there was a better deal, they'd offer it to you automatically. And companies absolutely love that you believe this. They're counting on it. Their entire pricing structure depends on most people not asking. Think about it like this. Airlines figured out decades ago that they can charge 10 different people 10 different prices for the exact same seat on the exact same flight. Business traveler booking last minute, $800. Family who booked 3 months in advance and used points, basically free. Same seat, same peanuts, same destination. The only difference is one person asked how to get a better deal and the other didn't. Here's where it gets really interesting though. Let's talk about medical bills, because this is where the not asking habit gets genuinely expensive. A study from the Journal of the American Medical Association found that when patients negotiate their medical bills, they're successful about 75% of the time, with an average reduction of around 25%. But only about 5% of patients even try. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine had a minor outpatient procedure, got the bill for $4,200 after insurance. She nearly had a panic attack. Then she called the hospital billing department and said, "I can't afford this. Is there any assistance available or any way to reduce this?" They asked for some basic financial information, and within a week, they'd reduced her bill to $1,800. She didn't lie, she didn't threaten, she didn't have some special insider knowledge, she just asked. That's a $2,400 savings for a 10-minute phone call. Now look, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, this sounds exhausting. You're thinking you don't have time to negotiate every bill and every purchase. And you're right, you can't optimize everything. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you should be asking about the big things, the recurring things, and the things that feel unreasonably expensive. Here's my framework. If something costs more than $100, if it recurs monthly or yearly, or if the bill seems higher than you expected, ask about it. That's it. You don't need to negotiate your coffee order, but your salary, your rent, your insurance, your medical bills, your car purchase, these are worth the discomfort. Let me give you another example that most people miss entirely. When you're buying a car, everyone knows you're supposed to negotiate the price, right? But here's what most people don't realize. You should also be negotiating your trade-in separately, negotiating your financing rate, and negotiating any additional fees they try to tack on. Most people negotiate the car price, feel good about saving $1,000, and then lose $2,000 on their trade-in value and another $1,500 in markup on their interest rate because they didn't ask about those things. I bought a used car 2 years ago. The dealership offered me $4,800 for my trade-in. I'd done my research on Kelley Blue Book and similar sites. I knew it was worth $6,200. I showed them my research and asked them to explain the gap. They came back at $5,900. That's $1,100 I would have lost if I hadn't asked. Then they tried to finance me at 6.2% interest. I had a pre-approval from my credit union at 4.1%. I showed them that and asked if they could match it. They matched it. That saved me about $1,700 in interest over the loan term. Total time invested in asking these questions? Maybe 45 minutes across the whole car buying process. Total savings, about $2,800. Again, I'm not some master negotiator. I'm just someone who's willing to be uncomfortable for 45 minutes to save thousands of dollars. Now look, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, this sounds exhausting. You're thinking you don't have time to negotiate every bill and every purchase. And you're right, you can't optimize everything. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you should be asking about the big things, the recurring things, and the things that feel unreasonably expensive. Here's my framework. If something costs more than $100, if it recurs monthly or yearly, or if the bill seems higher than you expected, ask about it. That's it. You don't need to negotiate your coffee order, but your salary, your rent, your insurance, your medical bills, your car purchase, these are worth the discomfort. Let me give you another example that most people miss entirely. When you're buying a car, everyone knows you're supposed to negotiate the price, right? But here's what most people don't realize. You should also be negotiating your trade-ins separately, negotiating your financing rate, and negotiating any additional fees they try to tack on. Most people negotiate the car price, feel good about saving $1,000,